What's up, YouTube? Southern Comic Geek coming to you with a recap video. That's right, a recap video. As I recently attended the Fan Expo, the show formerly known as Wizard World New Orleans, in New Orleans this week, and wanted to follow up and let you know what my thoughts were, personal opinions. They're like everybody's got one, and at least two, like armpits, and most of them stink. But regardless, that's what this channel's for. This is my opinion. Certainly feel free to opine in the comments, and that is as long as you're subscribed to the channel. If you're subscribed to the channel, we do appreciate you. If you hit that thumbs up, we appreciate you even further. And yeah, so as we get into this comic book madness, smash that like button. You can tell I'm kind of rusty. What used to just flow so freely, not so much anymore. So because you're having to deal with all this rusty mess before we get into this comic book madness, let me give you a coupon code. If you're needing collecting supplies such as, but not limited to, boards and bags, plastic or cardboard comic book boxes, magazine boards and bags, for records and all this other kind of stuff, visit bcwsupplies.com. Use the coupon code SCG to save yourself 10% on the order. The link is in the description below. There's also a link down there for the link tree that shows all the various platforms that I'm on. I hope that you will feel free to subscribe to all of them. It doesn't cost you anything. And if you're like me and you like your some good coffee to go with your comics, you can visit comicsoncoffee.com and use the coupon code SCG to save yourself 15%. That link is also in the description below in the link tree link. So Fan Expo, this is the 2019, assuming they didn't take the 1 year off for COVID. So 2019, 1, 2, 3, 4. This is the 5th year that I've gone, and 2019 was great. Of course, COVID kind of wiped that out. And when they came back, it was kind of lackluster at first. This is just, again, my opinion. So kind of lackluster at first. But in fairness, a lot of cons were. And so it looked like they were starting to find their footing as it relates to what I'm interested in, regards to comic book creators. Last year, year before last, they were really starting to ramp things up. To me, the New Orleans show is not near as large of a show as what, say, Dallas is. But it definitely has a draw. People like the taste, the flair of the city, especially those who've never been. I'll talk about some of those instances in a minute. And yeah, so but this year was kind of different. This year, it looks like they went all out as it relates to certain franchises, in particular Superman and Back to the Future. If you were a Back to the Future fan and you were willing to shell out a bunch of change for some signatures, you were having a heyday at this con because it was a big to-do. Michael J. Fox, Christopher Lord, and the whole cast, especially of the first one, were there signing autographs because characters, people's health as well as age is getting on up there. It's not very common to get all of them together in one place, and they were able to do that here in the South, which was great. And then when you think about Superman's, almost all the Supermans, like Dean Cain, so 90s forward, both voice actors as well as people. Henry Cavill was not there, but Tyler, was it Holken was there, and Dean Cain, a lot of those other folks were there. So again, another franchise that they kind of leaned into. So that was great. But as far as for me, when I go to a con, I'm looking for books. Generally, I'm going for the cheap stuff, the dollar bin stuff, because the big stuff, frankly, I'm not really looking for anything big right now. And the stuff that I would look for is not stuff. It's kind of weird stuff. So it's not showing up at the con wall, taking up space there. And but they didn't really have an awful lot of booths. They had a few. Did pick up a few things, which I'll show in just a moment. And they have the one row of comic creators. And again, in fairness to the show, there were some big comic creators that were there. I have already met these before and was not looking to get anything signed for them. So that wasn't a big draw to me personally. And then I'm really kind of keeping the powder dry for OAX, which is in 2 weeks at the time of, well, I guess next week at the time of this video, because taping this on a Sunday. So, so anyway, so that is kind of my initial thoughts, and I'll opine some more as I get through this. Um, let's show the books that I picked up. Again, nothing big. There's one guy, I think he's been at several of the shows that I've been at. Uh, and he's got a setup where he's got like $10 books or price books, and I think he's even got a wall with some of those books up there. And then he's got a section, and boy, was that section being rummaged through when I was there. Whoever it was, they were big into the '90s because they were loaded up with some image stuff. Hey, look, I'm not throwing any shade. I'm a Valiant collector, so I get it. But that was like the busiest side of his booth, at least while I was there. So I was able to pick up Shadow Man number 11. Didn't have this cover, and so he did. The books were $1 or five. 6 for $5, and the more you got, the more bigger discounts you got. But I didn't really see anything that I wanted to lean into. And as far as selling goes, I've got enough stuff myself to sell without adding on some extra stuff. Unless it was just like crazy finds, I wasn't going to dive into that. So Oblivion Song number 5. Now, I really liked this series of Oblivion Song. I actually got started on the series by some first one or two of them by trade paperback, and then started picking up the floppies from there forward, and have went back and picked up one and some of the ones in between to kind of fill out a set. Now, in honesty, I'm probably looking to sell the whole set. And just maybe keep the first issue or whatever. But so there's like 4 or 5 that I was missing out of this, and so these were some of them. So there's 5, there's 13, and then there's 4. So these were the only 4 books that I purchased while at the con. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, not very much. So I didn't take my wagon. I actually was trying out my new art backpack. So I had a little portfolio, padfolio, whatever, to put my books in. These books that I'm going to show you in just a moment. So I had some because I was going to get some signed, and then had a couple of top loaders if I were to pick up any art, maybe at a table or something. But that didn't happen. But I had those down there. So I didn't take the wagon because I didn't really see no need to. And that proved out true. So I had all of these Green Lantern books that Big Time Collectibles put out. All the foils. This is Green Lantern 1 from the regular series. And Jeremy Adams is writing this, and he was there, and I never met him before, so I got him to sign all of them. Which, as you know, if you get foil signed, these are always kind of tricky. Make sure that the signature doesn't smear when you go to put them back in the back board and bag. So I got them all signed. At some point, I'll maybe get the artist and/or the Philip Kennedy Johnson, I think it was co-plotter or something like that. I plan to get him to sign some stuff, and then the shows that he's been at that I've been at, he was too busy, and I was like, all right, I got other priorities. So Jeremy Adams was a real fun guy to talk to. I think that he's one of the best writers that DC currently has on any of the titles. I think he's fixed to actually start Aquaman. He made a comment that I was talking about Jeff Johns, and he said, "Yeah, he told Jeff that he was actually following in the same trek that he had followed in with Flash, Green Lantern, and now on Aquaman." And I'm like, "Don't do what Jeff did, because DC needs you. DC needs some good writers, because I don't know if you've read the Green Lantern. I'm not a huge Green Lantern historian or anything, just at certain points in time there." But if you read the current Green Lantern, you can tell, and he and I talked about this about being a fan and not just wanting to say, okay, snap my fingers, everything's back to normal after the previous runs in recent history. So he kind of took what he had been given and kind of crafted it, made it make more sense, kind of make it interesting, and then with the recent Absolute Power, I believe was the tie-in, the big event that DC had. You know, a lot of times these events are just meant to sell books that don't really sell with their crossovers because they're, the non-eventful, ironic enough. And so with his, he was able to keep the story flowing, kind of throw the event in there and keep the story flowing, which I kind of congratulated him on. So I had a really good conversation with him. Also met Larry Houston. So Larry Houston produced and directed the original X-Men animated series from back in the 90s, and I think it was just produced the current one, and they're working on the second series of that now. So got to talk to him, had a really good conversation with him. Kind of wish I had recorded it, um, uh, but I didn't. So, basically we just talked about how he was able to get a lot of the characters in the 90s that Marvel at that point did not have rights to they did not have the video rights to, and so people like Spider-Man and others, and so he had been shot down by wanting to put somebody in there. I think it was Spider-Man. So he just learned that he could just start putting Mutant One or Black Mutant, and then all of a sudden Black Panther shows up. So that was kind of a funny story. I'd heard it before, but it's fun to hear it directly from him. And his story about how he was a fan, and like the powers that be didn't even read any comic books, which I'm not surprised by. I think it's still much that same way. It's like, hey, this is how it needs to transpire. He talked about Morph, and of course with Changeling, they changed his name, pun intended, to Morph, because Changeling is the name of DC character, even though Marvel had it prior to them. They didn't want the whole kerfuffle, and so they changed his name to Morph. So no harm, no foul for most people. And then when they killed him, because they were going to take the trek that the reboot, Giant Size X-Men reboot, took, which was to kill Thunderbird. However, they didn't want to have the first appearance of a Native American mutant only to have him killed, so they thought that was a bad look. So they decided to kill this Morph character instead. But yeah, hearing all that was really fun. And coincidentally, he did a cover for Marvel recently of this Hulk #6. This is the Donny Cates cluster flop, but he did this cover, and collect Hulk 181 homages. So what better than to get him? So he signed it up there in the title. So that was cool. And then I got Mark Guggenheim, who has worked on the Legends television series. He's a comic creator, also Hollywood writer. So he does a bunch of different stuff. And he wrote the Han Solo and Chewbacca series for, I think that the series is canceled now. I think it was just a mini series for Marvel. And when they did the lightsaber variants, and so I don't know if you recall or not, but last year I got all of the lightsaber variants signed by Chris Sprouse, who did the covers for all of them. And so for the 3 that Mark wrote, decided to get him to sign those. This Ahsoka Tano is the most popular and most expensive one. This is Girl from the New Republic, and of course Mace Windu right there. So he also wrote X-Men Gold, the surprise wedding of Gambit, and you can see I got Sabine Rich last year to sign this for me. And maybe one day I'll meet J. Scott Campbell and whoever else worked on the book and get them to sign it as well. But yeah, so I got him to sign that, and we were talking about how, Marvel and kind of messed things up. We went back to One More Day, and talked about that kerfuffle and how he actually was one of the writers that came after the whole Mary Jane Mephisto wedding disillusion, went into place. And so we had a long, good talk with that. But yeah, so that was interesting. Um, got to talk to Scott Hanna. Uh, I mean, the question when you think about Scott Hanna is like, what is he not inked? Because like he's literally one of the most prolific inkers that's out there. Uh, First time he had been to New Orleans, so that was interesting. But yeah, just walking by and talking to a few people there. They had the Turtles, like the Saturday morning uh, adventures, almost said comic cartoon crew, which is just kind of a callback on the channel. If you know, you know. But Tim Lottie and some of the other ones that are more local flares there. Gavin Guidry was there. Yeah, so the 4C Comics group was there. Ken and crew were there with Ron Wilson, Bill Morrison, um, and Mike DiCarlo. So they had some names there, but again, I was just really people I had already met before, so I wasn't really interested in dropping some change or anything in particular to get them to sign, especially this close to OAX. Just want to make sure I'm good to go for that show. And I'm kind of tossing around, kicking around a lot of things, riding on whether or not I do end up going to MegaCon. So for now, OAX is enough, and that's where we left it off at. But so with the New Orleans, I was actually glad to see that the people that were there, because with the whole thing that went down just a couple weeks ago on Bourbon Street. People get all fearful of stuff. We had the cold snap of weather with fear of snow and things like that. I was wondering if that was going to kind of, shy people away from coming out for the show. So I was actually glad to see that didn't deter, the various people, not only the creators, but also the people that were coming out there, the cosplayers, the event attendees, etc. So, overall an okay show, and especially for me because I'm only 2 hours down. So, it's a quick trip down and a quick trip back home. But let me know what you think of the books that I got signed. Let me know of the cons as the con season is fixing to be starting off in full swing. For me, OAX is the first huge con of the year. But some people are going to MegaCon, and that list is packed out with comic creators. So there are a lot of big cons this year. Remains to be seen how many of them I get to attend this year. Just various things going on. But let me know in the comments below, what cons are you excited about? Obviously you got Heroes in Baltimore, some of the big ones that everybody's aware of, but maybe there's some really nice local ones where you live. Let me know in the chat below. And if you haven't already done so and you feel so obliged, please give this video a thumbs up and smash that like button. Maybe it'll make my kids be quiet next time, but probably not, because as those of you who have been watching the channel for any length of time know that they never are. They never are. So if you stayed around this long, want to do, again, thank you by giving you this free coupon code to save on your comic book and other collectibles supplies, visiting bcwsupplies.com and using the coupon code SCG to save yourself 10% on your order. And if you ever wondered whether or not you should be watching this channel,
hey, this is Billy West, and you, an idiot, if you're not watching Southern Comic Geek. You hear that, Stimpy? Yeah, I heard it. I'm a Northern Comic Geek.
yeah, you heard it from his mouth. Don't be an idiot. Watch, hit the bell notification so when these videos go up ever so randomly, you can know when they do. And you can make a conscious decision as to whether or not to watch it now or later, as long as you watch it. We appreciate you. Till next time, keep collecting. Adios.